Previously, the Li family defeated a demonic serpent and uncovered a rare spiritual fruit. Now, hidden alliances are formed, a powerful machine seals Li Jing Mountain, and precious elixirs strengthen the clan. But as old secrets surface and enemies draw closer, the Li family must become colder and far more ruthless to survive. Welcome to Episode 5. From a distance, the clusters of buildings behind the village resembled a small town south of the Yangtze. White brick courtyards surrounded the Li family's main estate of gray tiles and blue brick, half-veiled by wind and rain. When Li Xiangping returned to the courtyard, he found Li Mutian resting there with Li Xuanyuan. The old man looked vigorous again, his movements brisk as he sat calmly at the table with a teacup in hand. It seemed he had finally begun to emerge from the grief of losing his eldest son years ago. Li Mutian no longer concerned himself with many day-to-day matters, but no one dared underestimate him. He might have been a mortal, yet men like Li Yesheng feared him even more than Li Tongya or Li Xiangping. Xuanyuan, Li Xiangping laughed and caught the boy as he came racing toward him. The child was now old enough for lessons, and the Li family had continued to employ Han Wenshu as his first teacher. Li Xuanyuan was quick-witted and clever, so teaching him required little effort. Today, Jiawen and I went to the Reed Marsh. He said Uncle Yesheng used to herd ducks there when he was little. Li Xuanyuan wrapped his arms around Li Xiangping and spoke in a bright, childish voice. The Li family had arranged Li Yesheng's marriage. Li Xiawen was his son, a little over 2 years old, and spent every day toddling after Li Xuanyuan wherever he went. That is true enough. Li Yesheng answered from behind them with a smile. Go and call second brother back. Li Xiangping turned and gave the instruction lightly. Only after Li Yesheng bowed and withdrew into the distance did he look back at Li Xuanyuan. Back then, your third uncle was catching fish nearby. There was one enormous fish with green scales, slick as oil. He set the boy down and pinched his small cheeks. Yet his gaze drifted into the distance, unfocused, as though he had fallen into some deeply buried memory. That was the finest fish your third uncle ever tasted. A fish sent from heaven, the immortal among fish. And what of the Wan family? Li Mutian glanced over and set his teacup down, cutting off Li Xiangping's reminiscence. They are far stronger than us and have a long-established foundation. Their patriarch has formed the Jade Capital Chakra, while Wan Yuankai reached the Azure Essence Chakra, despite his young age. Li Xiangping patted Li Xuanyuan and sent him away to play before raising his head to answer. Just then, Li Tongya entered the courtyard. His expression was grave. He found a seat and listened carefully while Li Xiangping explained everything Wan Yuankai had told him. Li Xiangping recounted the entire conversation in one breath. Only then did he pick up his tea, drink deeply, and look between the other two men. If the Wan family truly is being pressured from within and without, we should help where we can. The Ji family is right on our doorstep. Should the Wan family collapse, we will be the next lips to freeze when the teeth are gone. More likely than not, the Li family would become their next target. Li Tongya listened in silence, then lifted the rough map and studied it. The Wan family must be saved, but how we save them matters. We must choose the method that benefits our own family most. Xiangping, listen carefully. Li Mutian narrowed his eyes. One brow rose as he stared into the tea in his cup. Then he spoke. The Wan family says the Ji clan keeps stealing their spirit rice. Then answer them like this. Tell them the Li family still has unused spirit fields but lacks the cultivators to tend them. Have them secretly send one person here to grow the rice on our land. When the harvest comes, the Li family will take 30%. If Wan Yuankai truly sends someone, then the Wan family really has been cornered by the Ji clan and is suffering beyond endurance. Exactly. Li Xiangping nodded. He had clearly reached the same conclusion as his father. The Ji family knows every detail of the Wan family's spirit fields. Their household has probably been riddled with spies. Wan Yuankai must handle this with absolute secrecy. At our current strength, the Li family cannot confront the Ji clan directly. We can only support the Wan family from the shadows. Correct. Li Mutian nodded approvingly and took another sip of tea. Both families are far stronger than ours. We must remain hidden, wait for the proper moment and accumulate strength. The Ji clan is overbearing and harbors murderous intentions. The Wan family may serve under Qingchi Sect as we do, but they are also our immediate neighbors, and neighbors must be guarded against. Li Tongya stared at the rough map for a long while before suddenly asking, according to this map, does the Ji clan's territory also border ours? It does. Li Xiangping nodded and pointed to a fork in the road. Guli Road divides here. One branch runs north into Ji territory while the other turns east toward the Wan family's lands. He paused. Seeing Li Tongya deep in thought, he continued. I asked Wan Yuankai about it. More than a century ago, a demon gathered several lesser demons and established a lair along the road leading to the Ji clan. That route has been severed ever since. Even the Ji family abandoned the land beyond it, though it still nominally falls under their jurisdiction. So that is how it is. Understanding dawned on Li Tongya's face. Then we need not fear a sudden Ji incursion. So long as the Wan family does not fall, the Ji clan will never be able to threaten this place directly. That demon is clever as well. It chose a place along the border between Qingchi Sect and Tangjin Sect, remained inside its lair to cultivate, and never ventured out to cause trouble. Li Xiangping spoke softly, then turned toward Li Mutian. I heard from Wan Yuankai that Mountain Yue tribes once moved through the lands west of us. Father, you fought the Mountain Yue in your youth. Do you know anything about them? Li Mutian waved a hand. In appearance, the Mountain Yue are not very different from us. They cut their hair short, tattoo their bodies, and speak another tongue. They admire martial strength, delight in battle, and worship the powerful. Their tribes have shamans skilled in curses and beast control. They are not easy opponents. I do not know how effective your evil-dispelling arts would be against them. If you can counter their curses, however, and our village militia is equal to theirs in strength, then they are not impossible to deal with. There is no need to hurry. Li Tongya traced a circle around the Li family's territory on the map. The Wan family has been repeatedly squeezed apart by the Ji clan, while the territory Xiuanbai assigned to us is vast. At present, the Li family's nominal domain is even larger than theirs. But we control too much land with too few people, and our strength is poor. It is nothing more than empty bulk. If the Mountain Yi do not come to provoke us, we need not provoke them. Let the Wan family stand in front and bear the pressure for now. We should spend several years developing, take firm control of the lands already in our hands, and only then consider anything further. Wan Xiaohua sat behind a table, unable to hide his exhaustion. A cultivator who had formed the Jade Capital Chakra at the Upper Yang Mansion should have remained vigorous after 3 days and nights without sleep. Yet too many matters had weighed upon him of late, and even Wan Xiaohua felt close to his limit. What do you make of the letter the Li family sent Yuankai? Wan Xiaohua rubbed his temples and looked wearily at the people below. Before Wan Yuankai could speak, a broad, powerfully built man beside him boomed. What is there to consider? The Li family is weak, yet they indulge in wild ambitions. With only 2 cultivators in their household, Patriarch could march to their gate alone and force them to surrender every spirit field to the Wan family. The man had thick brows, large eyes, and the fierce stare of a tiger as he looked up at Wan Xiaohua. Idiot! Wan Xiaohua cursed inwardly, then asked aloud. The Li family has one of its members cultivating within the sect. What will we do if the sect calls us to account? The burly man was immediately left speechless. Wan Yuankai stepped forward. The Li family wants 30%, then we should give them 30%. Our stores diminish every year, and soon we will be unable to meet the required tribute. The survival of the clan must come before all else. Wan Xiaohua nodded. There may still be room to negotiate that 30%. The Ji clan is powerful. With our 2 families sharing the same danger, the Li family should not press us too harshly. At the mention of the Ji clan, Wan Xiaohua's expression darkened. He set the letter down gently. A few years ago, Mount Yubu still marked our border. Now we have retreated all the way to Guli Road. That old thief Ji Dongqi has gone too far. Our strength is insufficient, so we have yielded again and again, yet he has not granted us even a moment to breathe. Wan Yuankai clenched his teeth and nodded. Fortunately, a path has opened in the midst of despair. The spiritual veins and ley lines at the northern foot of Mount Dali are gradually recovering, giving the Wan family a thread of hope. It is only a pity that the land does not belong to us, Wan Xiaohua sneered. The present arrangement is already the best possible outcome. Even if the Wan family seized the northern foothills of Mount Dali, we would still need cultivators to guard them. If I sent all of you there, who would protect our ancestral estate on Mount Watian? More importantly, this is no small matter. If the Ji clan learned of it, would Ji Dongqi stand by and watch the Wan family expand? Ji Dongqi has secretly contacted the foolish collateral branches under my authority, leaving them wavering between both sides. Any dealings with the Li family and anyone we send there must be concealed completely. Ji Dongqi must learn nothing of it. Wan Yuankai nodded firmly. I have already arranged for a younger clansman to fake his death and escape to Lidao Pass. Ji Dongqi's spies are only mortals. They will see through nothing. Tianshang is eloquent, calm, and cautious. Entrusting this matter to him will put my mind at ease. Wan Xiaohua picked up a brush and drew a slow circle on the map before him. His eyes turned cold. A blunt knife may carve away our flesh, but the Ji clan had better beware the day the Wan family bites back. Li Tongya finished regulating his breathing. Feeling the mana course endlessly through his body, he smiled softly. Circulating without cease. After nearly 4 years, I have finally succeeded. Congratulations, brother Tongya. You have advanced another step and formed the Celestial World Chakra. Liu Rujuan smiled beside him and tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear. Her dark, luminous eyes met his directly as she offered her congratulations. It is merely one small step in the embryonic breathing realm. What is there to celebrate? Li Tongya turned his head slightly, quietly avoiding her gaze. His answer carried an unusual trace of fluster. Seeing Lu Wan smiling foolishly beside him, Li Tongya shook his head helplessly. He glanced at the sky. I have been in seclusion for a full day and night. I should go and see Xiangping first. Yes. Lu Rushuan nodded eagerly, still smiling. Li Tongya left the small Li Jing courtyard. He had only just reached the front yard of the Li estate when he faintly heard raised voices from the main courtyard and stopped. Mother, why does everyone else have a father, but I do not? Madame Ren had been sewing quietly in the courtyard. Li Xuanyuan knelt on the ground, clutching Ren Pingni's skirt as he spoke through sobs. Even Li Xiaowen has a father. Where did mine go? Madame Ren hurriedly crouched and pulled him into her arms. Her voice caught as she answered. Your father went somewhere very, very far away. Mother is lying. You are lying to me. Li Xuanyuan tore himself from her embrace and cried out. No one travels far away without ever sending a letter home. Everyone says father is dead. Ren Pingni froze. For a moment, she could only stare helplessly at the wailing child. Li Tongya felt his heart twist. With a sigh, he entered the main courtyard and gently lifted Li Xuanyuan into his arms. The moment the boy saw him, he wiped at his tears and sobbed. Second uncle, where is my father? Li Tongya patted his back softly. Bitterness filled his voice. Your father was a good man, and a kind, generous elder brother. Wah. While he was still comforting Li Xuanyuan, Li Yesheng knocked and entered the front courtyard. At the sight of him, Madame Ren hurriedly drew the sobbing child away, leaving only the two men behind. What is it? Li Tongya composed himself and asked in a low voice. A man dressed as a hunter is waiting at the gate. He claims to be from the Wan family and says he has come according to the agreement. Bring him in. Li Tongya paused, rubbed his chin and waved to Li Yesheng. Li Yesheng soon led the visitor inside. The man's features were ordinary. He wore leather armor, and a longbow was strapped across his back, but his eyes were unusually bright. The moment he entered, he cupped his hands toward Li Tongya. Wan Tianshang of the Wan family greets the young patriarch. Li Tongya raised a brow. This man was clearly far more capable than Wan Yuankai and would likely be much harder to handle. He smiled. I would not dare accept the title of young patriarch. I merely manage a few minor affairs around the villages. He gestured inward. Please. Wan Tianshang's brows rose at once. I heard that old Master Li rarely shows himself and that the Li family is jointly managed by these two brothers, without a clear senior or junior authority. Li Tongya chooses his words with great care. I wonder what manner of man Li Xiangping is. His thoughts moved rapidly, but he continued smiling. You are too modest. Wan Tianshang entered the main courtyard. The old man sat in the seat of honor, calmly drinking tea. He lowered his eyes toward Wan Tianshang and gave only the slightest nod. Seeing Li Mutian's extraordinary bearing and complete composure, Wan Tianshang could not help thinking, this must be old Master Li. As expected of a former Foundation establishment senior, his bearing is unlike that of ordinary men. He hurriedly bowed. When he straightened, tears already covered his face. This junior greets senior. Li Mutian set down his teacup. What has driven you to such a state? Wan Tianshang wiped his tears. Seeing senior's noble bearing reminded this junior of his own father. That old man suffered beneath Jidingqi's vicious schemes. Our clan lost 900 caddies of spirit grain, and we nearly failed to meet next year's tribute. 900 caddies? Li Tongya and Li Mutian exchanged a glance. Understanding appeared in both their eyes. So he has come to bargain over our 30% share, Li Tongya thought. With tears shining in his eyes, Wan Tianshang described the Ji clan's cruelty, the Wan family's desperate circumstances, and how the Wan and Li families would prosper or suffer together. Even Li Yesheng, standing nearby in attendance, was moved by his words. Li Mutian, however, merely lowered his gaze and took an indifferent sip of tea. Has the Wan family truly fallen into such hardship? Yes. Wan Tianshang looked at Li Mutian and clenched his teeth. He understood that the man before him would never release the hawk until he saw the hare. Reaching into his clothes, he produced a roll of beast hide. Before I departed, my elder clansman repeatedly instructed me that the Li family would be providing my food, clothing, and shelter from now on. He therefore ordered me to bring this formation manual as repayment for your clan's kindness. Li Mutian waved a hand. Li Tongya stepped forward to accept it while Wan Tianshang explained. This formation is called the Bewildering Miasma Formation. My grandfather purchased it at a market town 100 years ago. Once the proper formation flags have been refined, the array can be established. Grandfather was deeply fond of formations, and he personally arranged the mountain formation protecting our estate. He originally bought this manual to verify his own understanding of the formation path. After he passed away, no one in the clan remained skilled in formations. Wan Tianshang sighed with emotion and reluctantly offered the beast hide scroll to Li Tongya with both hands. Only after Li Tongya nodded did Li Mutian smile. You are far too courteous. The Wan and Li families both serve under Qingchi Sect, so we should naturally support one another. Now that the Wan family is in distress, how could the Li family profit from your misfortune? We will take only 15% of the harvest. What else could Wan Tianshang say? He believed this great former foundation establishment figure looked down upon such a paltry gift and had reduced the price merely to give him face. Lowering his head, he gave a bitter smile. Many thanks, senior. Li Mutian gave a quiet hum of acknowledgement. Li Tongya then led Wan Tianshang, Li Yesheng, and the others out of the courtyard. The moment they passed through the gate, Wan Tianshang looked at Li Tongya with a trace of hope. May I ask where your clan has arranged the spirit field? Please take Tianshang to inspect its quality. Naturally. Li Tongya nodded as they walked along the Blue Stone Road. The Li family controls 2 villages along Guli Road. One is Lidao Pass, the direction Brother Tianshang came from. The other is Lichuan Pass, on the shore of Wangyue Lake. The spirit field we are leasing lies at Lichuan Pass. I have already ordered a small courtyard built beside it. The field itself is in good condition and should yield around 70 caddies each year. Wan Tianshang nodded to show he understood. As they walked, he turned his attention to the scenery of Li Jing village. This road is maintained surprisingly well. Mortals come and go constantly, yet it remains clean and orderly. That is rare. Brother Tianshang flattered us. Li Tongya smiled faintly, then continued. I have heard there is a cultivator market somewhere nearby. The Li family has only recently established itself, so we know very little about it. Brother Tongya truly will not stop until he has extracted every scrap of information from us. Wan Tianshang laughed, teasing him before his expression turned serious. I have only recently formed the profound Saneri chakra and have never visited the market myself. My elder clansmen and our patriarch have gone there together, however, and they told me a fair amount. The market is located on a small island in Wangyue Lake. It was established by a wandering cultivator at the peak of Qi refining. On nights of the full moon, large boats travel along the lake shore and carry wandering cultivators and members of small cultivation families like ours to the island. According to our patriarch, it is best to form the Jade Capital Chakra before attempting the journey, in case trouble arises along the way. Wan Tianshang feared the Li family might send someone to die and then blame the Wan clan for it, so he hurried to emphasize the warning. We understand. Li Tongya nodded and committed this important information to memory. Afterward, he chatted casually with Wan Tianshang as they continued onward. Before long, they arrived at Lichuan Pass. When Chen Erniu heard that Li Tongya had brought a cultivator from another family, he rushed out in alarm with several men to welcome them. He followed carefully behind Li Tongya. Speaking in a low voice with Li Yesheng, Wan Tianshang estimated the field's area, measured the spiritual qi in the soil, and finally nodded to Li Tongya, indicating his acceptance. Li Tongya smiled and waved a hand. Brother Wan must be tired after such a long journey. I still have family matters to attend to, so I will take my leave first. He instructed Li Yesheng and Chen Erniu to settle every detail with Wan Tianshang, then turned and returned to Li Jing village. The rear mountain behind Li Jing village had become far livelier than before. The villagers now called it Mount Li Jing. Small blue brick courtyards had risen among the dense forests, their gray roofs and blue walls scattered pleasantly across the mountainside. A winding stone road stretched from the foot of the mountain to the summit. Villagers stood guard below, and when they saw Li Tongya, they greeted him respectfully. Welcome, immortal master. He nodded casually and followed the stone path upward. After the time it took an incense stick to burn, a small courtyard appeared before him. Teacher Han Wenshu was holding lessons there. The yard was filled with children of similar ages, 50 or 60 at a glance, all sitting neatly beneath the trees and listening to his lecture. The pupils came not only from Li Jing and Jingyang villages, but also from distant Lidao and Lichuan passes. Only families with some savings could afford to send 1 or 2 children to study, and naturally they had no choice but to bring them to Li Jing village. Li Tongya looked at Li Xuanyuan, who was reading among them, and thought, in a few months, once a child of 6 or 7 has developed fully, we can test for a spiritual orifice. The Dharma mirror still contains 3 profound pearl talisman seeds, so even if Xuanyuan possesses no natural spiritual orifice, there is no need to worry. By my count, Tianyun should also give birth in a few months. For some reason, Liu Roshuan's face suddenly appeared in his mind. Startled, Li Tongya shook his head vigorously. He stood there in a daze for several breaths, then gave a bitter smile and continued up the mountain. Beyond the schoolhouse were 126 stone steps. At the top stood a great vermilion gate. An elderly man with graying hair sat before it. Uncle Tian. Li Tongya greeted him and saw Tian Shoushui happily working with a small hammer, a half-finished wooden horse in his other hand. Tongya, you are back. Tian Shoushui smiled and nodded. Somewhat embarrassed, he scratched his head and pointed to the wooden horse. Yunner is about to give birth, is she not? I wanted to make the child a little toy. The old man had suffered many injuries in his youth and aged rapidly. He was the same age as Li Mutian, yet looked more than 10 years older. Yes, take your time with it. Li Tongya deeply respected this old man, who had always treated him like a son. Only after exchanging a few words did he enter the courtyard. Li Xiangping was slowly waking from meditation. He exhaled a long breath of turbid qi and looked at Li Tongya. Second brother, have you formed the celestial world chakra? I have. Li Tongya raised a brow and smiled. You still beat me by one step. Li Xiangping's sorrow but soon could not keep himself from laughing. He rose and stretched. After Li Tongya finished recounting Wan Tianshang's visit, he set the formation manual on the table and lifted a cup of tea. Seeing Li Xiangping lower his brows in thought, asked, "What is it?" Wan Tianshang will be far more difficult to deal with than Wan Yuankai. Li Xiangping raised his head, his expression calm. Li Tongya smiled faintly and was about to reply when Tian Shoushui poked his head through the doorway. Linfeng is here. The two brothers exchanged puzzled looks. Lu Linfeng hurried into the courtyard, wiping sweat from his brow. An immortal master has arrived below the mountain. He claims to be from Qingwei Peak. Qingwei Peak of Qingchi Sect? Li Tongya and Li Xiangping immediately looked at one another. After a brief hesitation, Li Tongya said, "An envoy from the immortal sect. This must have something to do with Chejing." Li Xiangping quickly rose and led the others down the mountain. Yet the moment they stepped through the courtyard gate, they saw a cultivator in an ivory-white robe standing outside, a row of embroidered pouches hanging from his waist. He was handsome and carried an otherworldly air. He stood quietly before the courtyard, smiling at them. "Xiao Yuansi of Qingwei Peak greets you, fellow Taoists." Xiao Yuansi cupped his hands lightly. Li Xiangping of the Li family greets the honored envoy of Qingchi Sect. Li Xiangping did not dare neglect proper courtesy and quickly led the others in a bow. Xiao Yuansi leaned aside to avoid accepting the full salute. "You are all family to my junior brother. There is no need for such a formal bow. I have come in a personal capacity, not as an envoy of the sect." They voiced their acknowledgement together. Li Xiangping spoke respectfully. "Immortal Master, please come inside." Before a high cultivator of Qingchi Sect, Li Tongya and the others were little different from mortals. Their title of Immortal Master came sincerely from the heart. Xiao Yuansi entered the courtyard and found a seat. "I was ordered by the sect to come to Lixia Commandery and hunt a demon. My junior brother has missed his family terribly, so I had him write a letter for me to deliver to Mount Dali. The demon led me on a long pursuit and delayed me considerably. I only killed it yesterday, so I have come rather suddenly. I hope you will forgive the intrusion. We would never dare." Immortal Master has crossed a vast distance merely to deliver a family letter. The Li family is deeply grateful. Li Xiangping answered respectfully. When Xiao Yuansi held out a thumb-thick tube of emerald bamboo, he hurried forward to receive it. "Read it first." Xiao Yuansi accepted the tea offered by a servant and took a small sip with a smile. Li Xiangping and the others nodded quickly. Li Tongya scraped away the wax seal with his thumb and tipped the tube over his palm. A pale scroll slid out. He hurriedly unfurled it. "Chejing bows before father and my elder brothers. More than a year has passed since I left home. I do not know whether father and my brothers remain in good health. Everything is well with me in the immortal sect. I have now formed the Azure Essence Chakra, and the Jade Capital Chakra lies within reach. I have also begun practicing the sword, and my cultivation has advanced greatly. Senior brother Xiao Yuansi is at the 7th level of Qi refining. He is most skilled in alchemy and has a generous, mild temperament. If the family encounters a matter it cannot resolve, you may ask him for assistance. Should you need anything, speak freely. When I return to the sect, I will repay him on the family's behalf." Enclosed with this letter is a jade slip containing the profound water sword art. I have learned several spells, but they were passed down by the sect and may not be transmitted outside it. This Qi refining sword art alone was a gift from senior brother. I asked his permission, and he agreed that it could be sent home. The sword art is not especially difficult, and the family may practice it for self-defense. I have heard that Tangjin Sect has repeatedly stirred trouble along the border. The family should remain patient for now. I have asked senior brother to speak with the cultivators stationed in Lixia Commandery. If anything happens at home, use the Jade Seal to request aid. I live comfortably within the sect, so there is no need to worry. Cultivation here yields twice the result for half the effort and is far better than Mount Dali. Has anything important happened at home? Is Xuanyuan still obedient? Has there been anything unusual in the family? Please write back. By the time Li Xiangping finished reading, a wave of sorrow had risen in his chest. His eyes reddened as he cupped his hands toward Xiao Yuansi. "Forgive our discourtesy. We have kept Immortal Master waiting." Xiao Yuansi smiled and waved it aside. He placed a jade slip on the rosewood table. "There is no need for such formality. It is only natural. This is the other item my junior brother asked me to bring. As Li Tongya stepped forward to accept the slip, Xiao Yuansi said gently, "If the family has any difficulties or questions, speak freely." Li Tongya and Li Xiangping exchanged a glance and answered together, "We do have a few questions. Immortal Master, please come with us." They dismissed the attendants and followed the stone path deeper into the mountain courtyard. Before long, they reached an enormous banyan tree with a broad, flourishing crown. Circling behind it, they came upon a small tree bearing 5 fruits. Xiao Yuansi lowered his brows. He formed a hand seal, and both his hands immediately shone with a white jade-like radiance. Only then did he reach out to touch one of the fruits. After carefully examining the leaves for several breaths, he began to explain. This spiritual plant is known as the serpent dragon fruit. A mature tree should bear 6 fruits. The higher a fruit grows along the plant, the sooner it ripens. Once the first fruit matures, it must be harvested before the one beneath it can continue ripening. That is the nature of this plant. Roughly 5 years separate the first fruit from the second, so one may say it yields a single fruit every 5 years. Judging by the color of the uppermost fruit, the previous one was picked more than 4 years ago. This one will ripen soon. Xiao Yuansi parted the lowest branches of the serpent dragon fruit tree. Sure enough, a tiny pale green fruit was growing there, the 6th fruit, newly formed. What purpose does this fruit serve? Li Tongya had listened attentively and asked with respect. Qingchi Sect has more than 10 such trees. Every few centuries, one will produce a golden fruit capable of giving rise to a new plant. These red serpent dragon fruits, however, are usually refined into serpent essence pills. The sect awards them to meritorious disciples in the embryonic breathing and qi refining realms to accelerate the nurturing of chakras and the refinement of qi. Li Tongya and Li Xiangping immediately exchanged a glance. The Li family possessed almost nothing. Where would they find an alchemist? Despite cultivating for years, neither brother had ever even swallowed a single pill. Seeing their troubled expressions, Xiao Yuan smiled. If eaten raw, this fruit would likely shorten the cultivation time of only one person. When the 2 brothers looked as though they wished to speak but hesitated, understanding dawned on him. I can open my furnace and refine this fruit into a batch of pills for you. With my present skill in alchemy, I should produce 7 or 8 serpent essence pills. By convention, 6 will be given to you, and any excess will belong to me. Li Tongya and Li Xiangping agreed repeatedly and thanked him in delight. Xiao Yuansi nodded and tapped one of the embroidered pouches at his waist. A jade box immediately appeared in his right hand. He gathered mana at his fingertip and touched the fruit stem. Supporting it with another thread of power, he guided the serpent dragon fruit gently into the jade box. Apart from a few unusual spirit fruits and herbs, most must be stored in jade vessels to preserve their spirituality. They must also be harvested with mana so the fruit itself is not damaged. Xiao Yuansi explained softly as he worked. I will begin the refinement tomorrow. He tapped the pouch again, and the jade box vanished from his hand, leaving Li Tongya and Li Xiangping gazing at it with undisguised envy. Is there anything else important? After storing the jade box, Xiao Yuansi smiled and asked. Many thanks, Immortal Master. The brothers first offered their gratitude. Then Li Xiangping took a roll of beast hide from his sleeve and presented it with both hands. Xiao Yuansi accepted the scroll, untied the white cord around it, and unfurled it with his right hand. The bewildering miasma formation? He examined the formation diagram for more than 10 breaths, then shook his head. I thought it might be something novel. It is merely a variant of the mist labyrinth formation under another name. He rolled the diagram up and returned it to Li Xiangping. I am not particularly skilled in the formation path, but even I can see that this diagram is crude. It can deceive cultivators in the embryonic breathing realm, nothing more. Anyone who has formed the Jade Capital Chakra could escape unharmed, and a Qi refining cultivator could shatter the formation and seize its flags as easily as turning a hand. The Li family has nothing at all. Even a formation like this would offer us some peace of mind. Li Xiangping cupped his hands and smiled bitterly. Xiao Yuansi looked at Li Xiangping, who had only formed the Radiant Lure Chakra, and Li Tongya, who had reached the Celestial World Chakra. He could not help laughing. For the 2 of you, it truly is a reasonable choice. He tapped his pouch. 6 small flags appeared in his hand. Their blue and white cloth was covered in mysterious runes, while their shafts were made of reddish-brown wood. They were striking to behold. These are formation flags I used when I was at the Jade Capital Chakra. The flag cloth is fashioned from the hide of white-patterned spearfish, and the poles from crimson blossom wood. Within the embryonic breathing realm, they can be considered fine treasures and are well suited to this formation of yours. I no longer need them. I can leave them here and establish a mist labyrinth formation for you. Should you acquire a better formation diagram in the future, these same flags can be used to arrange it. Xiao Yuansi smiled and waved aside Li Xiangping and Li Tongya before they could thank him. 12 spirit stones. Li Xiangping went completely still. He gave an embarrassed smile. These spirit stones, what exactly are they? You possess no spirit stones? Xiao Yuansi paused, then explained the cultivation world's spirit stones serve much the same purpose as gold and silver among mortals. They are commonly used for transactions in markets and shops. Larger families may even be required to submit their annual tribute in spirit stones. Li Xiangping's heart stirred. How many spirit stones could white origin fruits and spirit rice be exchanged for? If those two goods are used as collateral, Xiao Yuansi rubbed his chin and considered for a moment. 10 white origin fruits are worth 1 spirit stone. For spirit rice, 100 caddies are required for a single stone. Li Xiangping and Li Tongya fell silent at once. 100 caddies of spirit rice was enough to force the family to send a cultivator here to lease our field. 12 spirit stones amount to 1,200 caddies of spirit rice. Even if we sold the entire Li family, we might not fetch such a price. Seeing the brothers lower their heads in silence, Xiao Yuansi immediately understood. Very well. I will count this bewildering miasma formation as something you have sold to me for 2 spirit stones. The remainder can be placed on account for now. Once your family gathers enough, have the senior and junior brothers who collect tribute in Lixia Commandery send it to Qingwei Peak. Li Xiangping gave a bitter smile and bowed in thanks. Xiao Yuansi formed a hand seal, and the 6 flags in his palm rose one after another. Go! With a gentle push, 5 of the 6 flags shot into the sky, trailing pale white flames. They separated as though possessing minds of their own and plunged into the bamboo forests at the foot of the mountain. In an instant, smoke and mist billowed across the lower slopes. Layer upon layer of dense gray fog spread outward until Mount Li Jing was completely enveloped. Not long afterward, the gray mist slowly faded. Yet when viewed from afar, every person on the mountain had vanished. The entire peak seemed frozen in a single unchanging moment, stripped of all movement and variation. It is done. I have arranged the Sect's mist labyrinth formation for you. It is somewhat better than that bewildering miasma formation. Xiao Yuansi lowered his hands and planted the last flag in the earth. A palm-sized formation core immediately appeared around it, divided into an outer ring and an inner eye, both shining with faint white light. The formation core has an outer array and an inner eye. If the outer ring lights up, someone has entered the formation from the foot of the mountain. If the inner eye lights, that person has already broken through and reached the interior. He clapped the dust from his hands and pointed as he explained. Once you form the Jade Capital Chakra, you may refine the formation core with spiritual sense and control the array freely. At your present celestial world cultivation, however, you can only drip blood from your fingertips onto the core flag. The formation will then recognize you. Many thanks, Immortal Master. Li Tongya and Li Xiangping hurried forward and let drops of fresh blood fall onto the flag. The formation core flashed, and both men suddenly felt a faint, indistinct connection to it. The wondrous sight improved Li Xiangping's mood, which had been weighed down by the debt. This mist labyrinth formation is far better than expected. It can conceal our mountain estate and prevent mortals from spying upon it. The flags can also be reused. 10 spirit stones may truly be worth the price. Once the younger generation grows and all the village spirit fields can be put to use, repaying the debt will merely take a few extra years. The mountain gate is far more important. Especially the Dharma mirror. Xiao Yuansi withdrew his spell and smiled. Do you have any other questions? When everyone shook their heads repeatedly, he laughed. Then I will wander through these mountains, kill a few demon beasts, and gather some spirit herbs. I will return tomorrow morning to refine the pills. We respectfully see Immortal Master off. Li Xiangping and the others spoke quickly as Xiao Yuansi summoned a flying shuttle, stepped into the air, and departed. After waiting until he had flown far away, Li Tongya turned to Lu Linfeng.
Uncle,
the school is no longer suitable here on the mountain. Move it to the foothills tonight. I will arrange it. Liu Linfeng answered and descended the mountain. Li Tongya then looked at Li Xiangping. Tomorrow, we should bring the mirror. Brother, Li Xiangping was suspicious by nature and still feared that Xiao Yuansi might not have truly gone far. He hurriedly cut him off. Li Tongya understood at once. The brothers exchanged a look, sat cross-legged and began cultivating. Mount Li Jing was no famed spiritual mountain, but it was still a branch of Mount Dali, and had once nurtured a spiritual plant such as the serpent dragon fruit. Now that the formation prevented spiritual qi from flowing freely between the mountain and the outside world, the ley lines and dormant spiritual energies within were stirred awake. The concentration of spiritual qi gradually rose until it stood roughly 10% higher than outside, then slowly stabilized. The cultivating brothers were delighted. Their satisfaction with the formation deepened further. They breathed and cultivated until golden light rose brilliantly in the east. The mountain mists slowly dispersed, condensing into droplets of dew upon the treetops. Only then did Xiao Yuansi descend from the sky. His robes and crown were perfectly orderly as he guided his flying shuttle gently into the courtyard. "Time to open the furnace!" He laughed and summoned a pitch-black pill furnace as tall as a man from his storage pouch. Sitting cross-legged before it, he said to the brothers, "Although the serpent essence pill takes its name from the serpent dragon fruit, its nature is gentle. Both key refining and embryonic breathing cultivators can use it. It will benefit the two of you greatly." He took a yellow-brown length of wood from his storage pouch. Bringing his hands together, Xiao Yuansi summoned a pure white alchemical flame from his dantian. He brushed the flame lightly across the wood. With a hiss, it caught fire and burned with a deep, ghostly blue flame. He tossed the burning wood beneath the furnace, took out the jade box, drew the serpent dragon fruit into his hand with mana, and cast it inside. Once the fruit had completely melted into a stream of vermilion medicinal liquid suspended above the furnace flame, Xiao Yuansi produced several supplementary ingredients and added them one by one. At last, he refined the mixture continuously with his alchemical fire. After roughly 2 hours, the thin mountain mist had dispersed and the morning dew had completely evaporated. Only then did 8 pale red spirit pills fly from the mouth of the furnace. Xiao Yuansi formed a hand seal. The 8 pills rose at once and settled into his palm, which glowed with white light. He took out 8 small jade bottles and placed 1 pill into each, keeping 2 bottles for himself and handing the remaining 6 to Li Xiangping and Li Tongya. These serpent essence pills must also be stored in jade bottles. Keep them carefully sealed and remove the wooden stopper only when you intend to use one. If the seal is poor, the medicinal power will gradually dissipate, wasting the pill. If properly stored, they should retain their potency for roughly 20 years, so there is no need to hurry. The brothers acknowledged his instructions and received the bottles with great care. Li Tongya then exchanged a glance with Li Xiangping and took out 3 of the serpent essence pills. "Immortal Master, please take these 3 bottles to our youngest brother so that he may cultivate well." "Good. The members of your Li family truly value affection and loyalty. Xiao Yuansi, will certainly deliver them." Xiao Yuansi nodded approvingly and accepted the 3 jade bottles. Then he cupped his hands, his tone filled with emotion. "The Li family has walked the immortal path for only a few years, and your foundation remains shallow. Alchemy, formations, and artifact refinement all require successors within the clan. You must also draw more people with spiritual orifices into the family, or after a few generations the lineage may decline. There are no overwhelmingly powerful cultivation families along Lixia Road or Guli Road. The Li family must seize this opportunity." Over the past several centuries, countless families in Lixia Commandery have risen suddenly, only to fade after a few generations. My Xiao family is an old cultivation clan of the Commandery. We have watched grand banquets flourish and vanish, watched tall towers rise and collapse. The Li family still has a long road ahead. Xiao Yuansi spoke sincerely, and Li Tongya could not help being moved. "Immortal Master speaks truly. My brother and I began with empty hands. The Li bloodline now numbers only 20 or 30, while the collateral Yi branch has merely 200 or 300. Chejing cultivates alone in the sect, and we are unable to provide him with many resources." Seeing Li Tongya sigh repeatedly, Xiao Yuansi frowned slightly. "My knowledge of alchemy was passed down by the sect, and I have sworn a profound sensory spirit oath. The recipe for the serpent essence pill cannot be transmitted outside the sect. You may search the market town, however. Perhaps you will find something useful there." Li Xiangping had been waiting for precisely such an opening. "Immortal Master, may I ask what this profound sensory spirit oath is?" Xiao Yuansi paused, then explained. "Families and sects use the profound sensory spirit oath when passing down secret arts. The oath taker swears upon the profound sensory chakra, and the vow is born from the heart. If the oath is broken, the profound sensory chakra shatters. The cultivator's entire cultivation pours away like water, reducing him to a mortal in moments. His vitality then collapses, his spirit withers, and he dies as the oath is fulfilled. This spirit oath would be extremely useful for protecting inheritance. May I ask its price?" Li Tongya hurried to continue, but Xiao Yuansi waved him off. "It is only a minor trick of no value. Everyone knows it. I will write it down for you." He accepted brush and paper and began writing. In the time it took to drink a cup of tea, the method was complete. "There is one point you must remember. This oath is not the all-seeing heavenly Tao. It does not comprehend every hidden thought. It is useful for protecting secret arts and confidential matters, but if you wish to prevent someone from harboring malicious intent, it will accomplish very little. Good and evil are difficult even for heaven to distinguish. What could a minor spirit oath possibly understand? Many thanks for Immortal Master's guidance. The Li family will remember this kindness." The brothers hurriedly expressed their gratitude. The great weight Li Xiangping had carried in his heart finally lifted. With this profound sensory spirit oath, the final gap has been filled. Once those two children form their profound sensory chakras and swear the oath, we can safely put them to use. Xiao Yuansi accepted the reply letter Li Xiangping had prepared, stored away the pill furnace, and summoned his flying shuttle. My junior brother's cultivation talent is respectable. His innate foundation is only ordinary, but his gift for the sword is exceptional. You need not worry about him. Fellow Taoists, until fate brings us together again. With that, he guided the flying shuttle into the sky amid the brothers' repeated thanks. After Xiao Yuansi had vanished into the distance, Li Xiangping carefully tucked the remaining 3 bottles into his clothes and smiled at Li Tongya. Chejing truly has an excellent senior brother. Li Tongya nodded. While committing the profound sensory spirit oath to memory, he handed the jade slip to Li Xiangping and motioned for him to examine it. Li Xiangping hurriedly accepted the slip and opened it. The surface was covered in dense characters no larger than the heads of flies. He froze. After laboriously reading only a few dozen words, he stared in astonishment and muttered, "He calls this not difficult?" As Li Xuanyuan sat distractedly in class, staring blankly at Han Wenshu as the teacher lectured without pause from the front. Han Wenshu was nearing 50, and gray had begun to spread through his temples. In his 20s, he had been an apprentice at a medicine shop in the commandery city. One day, in a fit of rage, he killed a man and was forced to flee into Mount Dali. For more than 20 years, he had treated the villagers and taught their children. In its own quiet way, his life had become almost poetic. A smile appeared on Han Wenshu's face as he looked over the children reading attentively below. He had never married or had children, yet he had watched the younger members of the Li family grow. The pupils raised in his school were little different from his own descendants. Fog is rising? Han Wenshu looked at the thin mist gathering around his feet, unease stirring in his heart. Why would fog appear at this hour? Li Xuanyuan had been nodding sleepily at his desk, but his eyes were sharp. He jolted awake and tugged at the robe of Li Shiwen, who was dozing beside him. "Brother Jiewen, look outside the window." Li Jiewen hurriedly looked over. Layer upon layer of gray mist was appearing beyond the window, filling him with unease. "Brother, what is happening?" "This fog is strange. The elders of our family are at the summit. We should tell teacher, then go up the mountain and warn them." Li Xuanyuan was not yet 6, but he spoke with the composure of a child 8 or 9 years old. His small brows drew together solemnly. As he spoke, great-uncle Liu Linfeng entered the schoolhouse and whispered something to Han Wenshu. The teacher nodded quickly and announced, "Children, pack your clothing and bedding. Beginning today, lessons are suspended for 3 days." Li Xuanyuan and Li Shiwen exchanged a look, then hurried to gather their belongings amid the cheers of the other pupils. After informing Han Wenshu, Liu Linfeng sat on the front steps and waited for the children. An itch rose in his mouth, and he reached into his clothes for his pipe. The moment he raised his head, he faintly saw a figure hiding in the mist, crouched within the woods and peering around furtively. Liu Linfeng sprang to his feet in fright. His treasured pipe fell from his hand and broke at the mouthpiece, but he had no time to mourn it. "Who is there?" he shouted, his voice trembling. Lu Miaotu had wandered through the mountain for a full day and night. Forget treasures of the immortals. He had not found so much as a single hair. Furious, he had sat upon a large blue stone and cursed the idle men of the village who had sent him there. A pack of plague-ridden wild dogs. They swore there were treasures on this mountain. Nothing but lies. When fog began rising through the mountain, Lu Miaotu shivered. The wolves, jackals, tigers, and leopards were supposedly driven out years ago, but who knows whether any remain. This fog is unnatural. I should go down the mountain first. He rose and followed the mountain path for nearly 2 hours. Yet the world before him remained an endless field of white mist. No way out appeared. This is damn strange. Why have I not reached the foot of the mountain? Then he saw the blue stone ahead. A chill crawled along his spine. That is impossible! It was unmistakably the same stone upon which he had been sitting. He had walked the mountain road for nearly 2 hours. How could he still be in the same place? Panic seized Lu Miaotu. He spun and ran, screaming as he fled. Only after a long distance did he stop to gasp for breath, whereupon the same blue stone appeared before him once more. Damn it! I cannot get out. Night descended. Lu Miaotu was dressed too lightly. His emotions were already in turmoil, and the cold wind cut through him. Before long, he collapsed unconscious. Only at the first gray light of dawn did he wake. His entire body burned with fever. He vaguely heard a shout and raised his head to see a shadowy figure sitting not far away. The moment he struggled up, a roar rang out. Who is there? Still half dazed, Lu Miaotu's knees immediately weakened. His foot slipped, and he tumbled down the slope until he rolled to a stop before the other man. Lu Linfeng took one look at his face and recognized the notorious idler from his own Lu clan. Everything became clear. Rage surged from his chest to the crown of his head, reddening his face. "Why are you here?" The shout shocked Lu Miaotu. Fully awake, he answered in terror. I came up the mountain to cut firewood. Liar! Lu Linfeng cursed loudly and jabbed a finger toward his nose. You damned fool. If you came up this mountain, why did you not report to the family head first? Is this a place someone like you may enter as he pleases? Even as those words left his mouth, Liu Linfeng himself came fully awake to the danger. A cold current climbed from his spine to the back of his neck. How did the Liu clan produce such a useless wretch? This time we have invited disaster. My nephews are ruthless and suspicious. How could they possibly leave him alive? I can only pray this does not implicate the entire Liu clan. Lu Miaotu was knocking his head against the ground like a pestle pounding garlic. Lu Linfeng had already made his decision. His expression changed at once, turning cold. Come with me. At least this way, your miserable life may still be spared. Lu Miaotu hurried after him into the courtyard. There, Lu Linfeng took out a thick hemp rope, pulled the man's arms behind his back, and began binding his wrists. Clan head, what are you doing? Lu Miaotu's heart pounded with unease. I am taking you to confess your crime. Only then will you show sincerity. Liu Linfeng waved a hand and quietly tucked a saber into his belt. Move. Yes, thank you, clan head. Before long, the two reached the courtyard entrance. Liu Linfeng pointed to a patch of mud beside the road. Kneel there. After speaking, Liu Linfeng went to summon Tongya and Li Xiangping. The moment he entered the courtyard and saw the brothers seated above, he dropped to his knees. The Liu clan failed to discipline its own member. I beg the family heads to forgive us. The sudden kneeling startled both brothers to their feet. They hurried forward to raise him. You must not do this, Li Tongya said gravely. How could the matter warrant such a gesture? With a bitter smile, Lu Linfeng recounted Lu Miaotu's reckless trespass. After listening, Li Xiangping merely said, You may judge and handle him yourself. There is no need for such a formal apology. Please come with me. Lu Linfeng shook his head and led them to the gate, pointing at Lu Miaotu, who was kneeling outside. The moment Lu Miaotu saw the three men, he began weeping and pleading. To his shock, Lu Linfeng strode forward, bent low, and swept his saber across the man's throat. Liu Miaotu managed only two wet, strangled sounds before collapsing to the ground with a heavy thud, never to rise again. Uncle is as careful as ever. Li Xiangping brushed his hands together and watched Liu Miaotu fall. Then he smiled at Li Tongya. He even chose a patch of mud so the blood would not stain the stone steps of our home. Li Tongya only sighed and turned to Lu Linfeng. We will trouble uncle to dispose of him. Naturally. Lu Linfeng answered quickly and dragged the corpse into the forest. Only then did the brothers return to the courtyard. Li Tongya's brows remained furrowed. Li Xiangping patted his shoulder. He brought it upon himself. Li Tongya gave a bitter smile and met his younger brother's eyes. I do not pity him. I was merely reflecting on the matter. Father is willing to release the reins because the Li family has you handling these things. In the end, the rest of us are still not ruthless enough. Li Xiangping shook his head with a smile. You, Li Tongya, would kill him as well. But first you would gather the villagers, list his 8 great crimes, and execute him openly before everyone. That would make your conscience feel cleaner. Death is death. Why go to so much trouble? As Li Tongya stood before the small courtyard at the foot of the mountain, Li Xiangping's words echoing through his mind. If we do not kill men like him, the Li family will become the next Wan family riddled through with spies from within and without. He shook his head and pushed the episode from his thoughts. Gently opening the courtyard gate, he saw Liu Rushuan sitting obediently cross-legged, drawing spiritual qi into her body. The Azure Origin Chakra nourishment method relies entirely upon absorbing spiritual qi to condense the profound Saneri chakra, yet its efficiency is painfully low. No wonder Rushuan remains immortal after nearly 2 years of cultivation. Li Chuyang, by contrast, has advanced rapidly through the power left behind by the Serpent Dragon Fruit, and will soon form his profound Saneri chakra. Liu Rushuan usually greeted him with a smile. It was rare to see her cultivating so earnestly, and Li Tongya could not help watching for several extra moments. When her eyelashes fluttered and her nostrils moved with a deeper breath, showing she was about to emerge from meditation, he hurriedly looked away. Brother Tongya! The moment Liu Rushuan opened her eyes and saw him, she called out in delight. Li Tongya lowered his gaze and answered softly, feeling strangely like someone caught doing something improper. Liu Rushuan quietly studied his profile, then spoke with sudden disappointment. I am already 17. My friends in the village have probably married and begun families, but I do not even have a companion. Li Tongya shook his head. Now that you have stepped onto the immortal path, there is no need to dwell upon such things. You are no longer the same as them. Cultivate well. Forming the profound Saneri chakra must come first. I am very serious. I cultivate for 16 hours every day. Liu Rushuan pouted as she defended herself, then looked up at him. Is Brother Tongya also still alone because of cultivation? When Li Tongya gave a slight nod, color rose into her cheeks. Her breathing quickened as she asked in a low voice, Brother Tongya, Do you still have any interest in me? Li Tongya felt his heart miss a beat. For an instant his vision seemed to sway. He hurriedly turned toward the pale green spirit rice moving in the field. You should wait until you have formed the profound sensory chakra before speaking of anything else. Lu Rushuan giggled and leaned close to his face. Her lovely brows relaxed as she whispered beside his ear, "Then Brother Tongya must not run off with someone else first." Li Tongya's face immediately reddened to the ears. Embarrassed and irritated, he sprang to his feet. "Focus on your cultivation." With that, he fled the courtyard and hurried into the distance. Li Tongya followed the flagstone road for some time, then washed his face in the river before finally calming down. He gave a bitter laugh. "I fear I have fallen into that little wretch's hands. So second brother truly does have feelings for Liu Rushuan. Father's foresight is remarkable." Li Xiangping was sitting by the riverbank with a knowing smile. "When father assigned Liu Rushuan to your care, you saw only the outer strategy, moving the cultivator away from her home so the Liu clan could not grow too powerful. You were too involved to see the inner strategy. That one was aimed squarely at you, Li Tongya. Third brother, stop laughing at me." Li Tongya gave a bitter smile and shook his head helplessly. "The more I observe father, the more I feel the old man always has someone worth learning from." "Of course." Li Xiangping nodded, his expression turning serious. "I intend to save the 3 serpent essence pills Xiao Yuansi left us until we are ready to break through to the Jade Capital Chakra. Father and Yesheng have already dripped blood into the Mist Labyrinth formation. I personally carried the Dharma mirror to the mountain courtyard in secret. As for the profound water sword art, I fear I have little talent for it. Second brother should study it more carefully." Li Tongya scooped up river water and washed his hands. "Chejing has been at the Immortal Sect for nearly 3 years. The first crop of spirit rice we planted is almost ready for harvest. You and I will have little leisure in the days ahead." The snow in Li Jing village was heavier this year than in previous winters. The spirit rice in the fields had ripened. Pale green heads of grain enclosed kernels of spirit rice as white as jade, standing straight and proud despite the weight of the snow. Spirit rice was nothing like ordinary grain. Its leaves were as sharp as blades, and its stalks had to be chopped through with axes. Li Tongya and the others were forced to enchant their sickles with the golden light art before they could harvest the scattered spirit fields. Looking at the small green heaps of cut rice, Li Chuyang stamped through the snow and clapped his hands. "Brother Xiangping, this harvest is a wonderful sight." Li Chuyang had formed his profound sensory chakra the previous month. He had then sworn the profound sensory spirit oath in the ancestral hall and learned several spells. The boy was now 10 years old. His features had sharpened into a handsome face, and he had begun to carry himself like an adult. In truth, he had gathered all 81 wisps of spiritual power a year earlier. Unfortunately, his first attempt to condense the profound sensory chakra had ended in complete failure. He was forced to spend an entire year breathing and meditating to restore his spiritual power, allowing Liu Rushuan to nearly catch up with him. Indeed, Li Xiangping smiled broadly as well. Mana now circulated endlessly throughout his body. He too had formed the celestial world chakra. Tian Yun had given birth to twins, 1 boy and 1 girl, filling Li Xiangping with such joy that he could hardly stop smiling. The old master studied the 2 infants again and again. Following the clan's generational naming order, the boy was named Li Xuanfeng and the girl Li Jingtian. The white origin fruits have not ripened yet, but the spirit rice has been harvested. Bring it back first. The villagers behind them had already used shears to cut away every leaf from the spirit rice and bound the stalks together with thick rope. Only then did they dare carry the bundles in pairs. The leaves were sharp as knives, and the men had suffered more than a few wounds during the harvest. As they reached the foot of Mount Lijing, thin mist gradually spread around them. Li Yesheng warned the men behind him in a low voice. "Stay close together. If you become lost inside this formation, your lives may be forfeit." The villagers hurriedly agreed. They followed the flagstone road to the summit and placed the bundles of spirit rice in the courtyard. Li Xiangping waved a hand. "Take them back down." Removing the rice from the stalks still required mana. A specialized hand seal then had to be used to separate the husks while preventing the spiritual chi within the kernels from escaping. Mortals could only harvest spirit rice with sickles enchanted by the golden light art and transport the cut stalks. The truly important stages still required cultivators. Third uncle, cousin Chuyang, Li Xuanyuan emerged from the courtyard and cupped his hands toward Li Chuyang and Li Xiangping. He was now over 7 years old and had begun to grow taller. His face carried several traces of his late father Li Changhu. "Xuanyuan, come here." When Li Xiangping saw him walking toward Li Chuyang, his expression changed slightly, and he called him back at once. Only after the child sat beside him did he smile and say, This boy was tested last year and found to possess a spiritual orifice. His cultivation is astonishingly fast. In another few months, he should form the profound sensory chakra. Li Xuanyuan froze when he heard this. Doubt piled upon doubt within his heart. The family has clearly never tested my innate foundation, nor have they taught me a cultivation art. Why would third uncle say such a thing? Yet he continued smiling and nodded toward Li Chuyang, whose face was filled with admiration. Xuanyuan is amazing. Li Chuyang could not help praising him. Remembering that he himself had required 2 years to form the profound sensory chakra, he felt faintly ashamed. The two spoke for a few moments. When Li Tongya arrived on the mountain, Li Xuanyuan withdrew. The others then spent several hours removing the rice from the stalks and separating the husks. Li Mutian divided the harvest into sacks, lifted them lightly, and announced, 120 caddies of spirit rice and 40 caddies of spirit rice bran. We can harvest it another crop in 2 years. This should be enough to cover the tribute. After seeing Li Chuyang off, Li Xiangping placed the 2 sacks of spirit rice and bran upon the table. Each grain was white as jade, smooth and lustrous. He could not help praising the sight before carrying the rice indoors. Xuanyuan is 7 now, and his bones have fully developed. It is time for him to begin cultivating. Li Tongya paused, then nodded thoughtfully and followed Li Xiangping inside. A charcoal fire burned in the room. The elderly often grew sleepy in winter, and Li Mutian had already fallen into a deep sleep. Only Li Xuanyuan remained in the hall, leaning close to the brazier for warmth. Li Xuanyuan gazed through the window at snowflakes drifting between the mountains. Mount Li Jing lay beneath a blanket of silver white. When he noticed the 2 men entering, he hurriedly rose. Third uncle, why did you tell cousin Chu Yang that I am about to form the profound sensory chakra? If I do not possess a spiritual orifice, would that not be terribly embarrassing? Li Xiangping carefully shut the window and raised a finger for silence. Follow me. Li Xuanyuan immediately fell quiet and obediently followed him to a blue brick tiled chamber at the deepest part of the courtyard. Li Xiangping took out a key, removed the lock, and gently pushed the door open. Go inside. Seeing the gravity on Li Xiangping's face, Li Xuanyuan grew uneasy as well. The chamber was spacious, yet held only a blue stone pedestal at its center. Upon it rested a gray-green mirror. Incense burned within the room, its fragrance calming the heart and settling the mind. Li Xuanyuan glanced toward Li Xiangping. His uncle was staring silently at the mirror, so the boy did not dare speak. I secretly tested your innate foundation several months ago. Li Xiangping paused for a few breaths. He turned toward Li Xuanyuan, whose face was filled with excitement and expectation, then continued. There is no spiritual orifice within your Qi Si. The words struck Li Xuanyuan like a thunderbolt from a clear sky. His mind went blank. Bitterness flooded his heart, his eyes reddened, and his lips pressed tightly together as disbelief spread across his face. He did not fully understand how rare spiritual orifices were. He only knew that fewer than 5 cultivators existed throughout all the villages, yet 2 of his own elders were cultivators, and even the collateral branch had produced Li Chuyang. No matter how poor his talent might be, surely he should still possess a spiritual orifice. Now he had been told that he possessed none, that he was destined to remain a mortal for the rest of his life. Darkness seemed to swallow his heart, and moisture gathered in his eyes. This mirror is a treasure I found in the river when I was a child, while catching fish. Li Xiangping pointed to the gray-green mirror upon the stone pedestal. Seeing Li Xuanyuan's expression, he gently stroked the boy's head and smiled. Do you know what wondrous power it possesses? Li Xuanyuan fought back his tears and answered earnestly. Xuanyuan does not know. Its power is to allow those without spiritual orifices to cultivate. Li Xuanyuan froze. He stared blankly at Li Xiangping's face as hope rose within him like the sun. Unable to contain himself, he began to cry and smile at the same time. Third uncle is deliberately teasing me. But when he studied Li Xiangping's half-smiling expression more carefully, a sudden shiver ran through him. He cried out, could it be? That is correct. Li Xiangping nodded, his expression solemn. Your father possessed no spiritual orifice. Neither your second uncle nor your third uncle has one. Even your fourth uncle, Li Chejing, who cultivates within the immortal sect, was born without a spiritual orifice. The rise of the Li family is entirely due to this mirror. Without it, you and I would be nothing more than ordinary farmers. The revelation left Li Xuanyuan speechless. The world seemed to spin around him as he forced out the words in a dry voice.